think we're here. Okay, good. And camera's in a slightly different place because I did a live show last night. And thank you, everybody who showed up. It was a great time. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. And I think in many ways, many of you may or may not know, when I do my shows for Flappers, they are 100% improv. I do an hour of stand-up, and I don't prepare beforehand. Sometimes a joke or a bit that doesn't have a home will show up because it's kind of floating around. But most of the time I try to avoid that, and I try to just go completely, I raw dog the show, for lack of a better phrase. And the reason is because it's the best way for me to write. And I can write, these days, I can write a brand new hour almost every show, and it's really fun. And it's also, for me, stand-up being the tightrope that it is, it's a great opportunity to push myself in a way that, quite frankly, if I have a set that I know I can rely on, I'm never going to feel. I'm never going to worry about it at all. I usually have, in general, about 3 hours worth of material for every hour I'm on stage. And I think that's a good general rule. If you're ever thinking about trying stand-up, always make sure you have 3 times as much material as you do on time on stage, because that will give you some edit room in front of your audience if things are working or not working, or if you need to go another direction, you can pull from another thing. It's just my own methodology. And doing these flapper shows have been, it's an excellent way for me to, just kind of force myself to walk the tightrope of stand-up again, and take your hand off the side of the pool and go into the deep end, as it were. And it's great. And so last night we had some really good, it was really fun. Tomorrow night I'm live at Flappers. I will be live streaming it. It will start a little later for the live stream because Jay Leno is going to drop in and do a set as well. So those of you that are coming to the show live tomorrow, you will get to see Jay Leno live as well, opening for me. And then he's working on material, so he's doing extra sets at Flappers, and they ask if it's cool if he drops in. And Jay Leno always has an open door, as far as I'm concerned. My one time on the Tonight Show was with Jay, so I probably won't be on the Tonight Show again until I host the damn thing. So we'll see. But it's always a joy. He's great to be around. Has a sharper, more biting sense of humor in person than he certainly did on the Tonight Show because of the audience, and it's closer to what his original stand-up is. And when you go see Jay live, you get a real picture of the stand-up that he is and the reason people respect him as a stand-up. You only really see that live. You don't see it when he hosts stuff that's meant for your grandparents and your parents mainly. Yes, and he's a lovely human, and I want the 3D printer that prints steel parts that he has. I'm just saying, if I ever have to go full Batman, that's the device I want. I want to be able to grind all my own weapons. Thanks for asking, Amy. Camden is great. He has indeed started school. He's doing good. They're wearing masks at school. All the staff are vaccinated. Thank God the Pfizer vaccine just got approved by the FDA for full usage. We had movement in our family. A couple of holdouts have finally using this as their big, all right, I'll do it now that it's, now that the rest of you have conducted an experiment on yourselves, I guess I'll save myself. It's a little weird because you're like, I took it. So you're just going to watch and see if I die before you do something? Was that your plan? So overall, that's a good move. I think Moderna will be probably right behind it. I think my guess is J&J will be third, and AstraZeneca will bring up the rear and never quite get there. That's a possibility. But I'm in the I'm fizzy in the hizzy. I'm a Pfizer vaccinated. I'm in Camp Pfizer, I guess. And I will say that family member that got vaccinated got J&J, interestingly enough, which I thought was weird. Like the holdout is not getting waiting for FDA approval and then getting J&J seems weird, but okay. Either way, I'm just glad, so I'm not complaining too much. It's just kind of funny. You know what I mean? It's just kind of curious as a thing. But either way, it's movement, it's positive progress, health and goodness, and we'll see it. But it did lay them out for the day. So they are kind of recovering from the effects of it. Now, may I, if a point of order, Mr. Chairman, I think I have, where's this? I might be able to do this with just directly doing this. Yeah, let's see if I can put myself over here. So here, I'll just take this guy and move myself over here and shrink myself down. And there you go. Now, whoops. For many of you remember the when we were messing around with this kind of video early on or whatever, will appreciate this. And I would like to take a moment before we get into today's videos to give my own address. Apparently, I want to give the message that the press and the hyper left and the hyper right want to see. This is apparently what they want the president or some spokesperson to come out and say. So I'm here to address you, the American people, in a way that apparently everyone is insisting on. First of all, the Afghanistan withdrawal is moving forward. It was a complete catastrophe, but it is no longer a catastrophe. I apologize to what that is doing for your daytime ratings. To all the people on the right, we find it incredible. We're so glad you've been concerned about the translators and their families and the Afghans that helped us. We're just a little confused as to why all of a sudden you don't want them coming to America. Get them out, but don't bring them here seems a bit strange. If they're worth saving, they're worth... I don't know. We're trying to figure out what the fuck you guys are talking about. I think mainly, if we, I think we can all agree that the people who helped us in Afghanistan and their families should eventually be brought here. And no, okay, well, that's what's going to happen. You'll just have to deal with it. About 30,000 of them long term. We're also helping to get many of the people who helped the Australians to Australia, many of the people who helped the French to France, and many of the people who helped the UK to the UK, even though they're shitting on us in their press. We're still doing our jobs, getting everyone out of the country. Also, apparently there is some sort of story floating around that Donald Trump had a plan for evacuation and we ignored it. That is not precisely the case. We did see it. It was part of an evac plan that was approved by the military leaders back in February when things were really different. You see, unlike the last administration, we react to reality, not press releases. Also, for all the people who think that Trump would have done this better, he had a great plan, and if we only had 2 more weeks, he would release it with his taxes and his healthcare plan. To those folks, we would like to say he had every chance last year to do this, and the year before, and the year before that, and the year before that, because we've been talking to the generals, and apparently nothing has actually changed. They've been blowing smoke up our ass for the better part of a decade, and anybody who even glanced at this sideways knew that. And so when we got into office, and the president will speak to this in just a few moments, we took a look at the genuine intel on this and went, what the fuck are we doing here? Any problem that we have, we can obviously drone from the air, and there's no reason for us to be holding a sovereign country. We're not in Yemen, we're not in Congo, we're not in all these other places, and yet we can work with UN forces and stuff. It's amazing. So we appreciate that, those questions coming from everybody. And there was one other things. Oh, yeah. New polling has come out, of course, that the American people are viewing the administration's handling of the COVID pandemic currently, because of the Delta variant, at a slightly lower level than they had earlier in the year when the president was successful in getting over 51% having their first dose and 70% now having had their second dose. And apparently according to polling and the Washington Post, MSNBC, NBC, New York Times, Ben Shapiro, and Democracy Now! And it's amazing how many people have this in common. Glenn Beck, Fox News, Fox Business, The Simpsons. I guess everyone apparently is now blaming Biden for the fact that Trump fans who believe January 6th was a false flag and believe the pandemic is a plandemic and are sucking back horse paste, it is somehow the Biden administration's fault that they are not trusting the vaccine. So we have a plan. Apparently, it isn't so much that people feel it's a varying degree across the spectrum of what we should do to deal with this. Now, unfortunately, there isn't a whole lot we can do. We're not going to get in a helicopter and shoot them with darts full of vaccine, like some sort of Sarah Palin fantasy. And we're certainly not going to just leave them to die and deny them medical services as the hyper-left and the Ayn Randians seem to be joining together on. So I'm sorry for that. We are just going to have to watch as that. Yes, I'm sorry. That's a good point. May I? Let's see. Let's see. It might be, if you'll excuse me for 1 second, the press must be made aware that, let's see if we get...
What?
Yes, so thank you. This is not an official statement from the White House. This is simply my response to a lot of the criticisms that I've seen. Over the last 7 days, the American military has gotten over 56,000 people out, 70,000 in total. No Americans will be left behind unless they want to be left behind, because if anybody can understand the freedom to die while making money in a foreign country against the will of the people who live there, it should be Republicans. So we can't forcibly extract any Americans who insist on staying. And technically, at this point, any Americans who insist on staying are either allied with the Taliban or involved in the poppy trade. So fuck them. And then, of course, all the Afghans that have helped us. Can we get all of them out through the Kabul airport? And the answer is, of course, no. Many of them already left through the borders of the country or have moved north to another extraction point. And we tell you more about it, but apparently you would like me to bring out a map and point to you. This is right over here. This is where all the people who helped us translate are. Here's all the people who guided us. They're in this apartment building. And this road is how we're going to take them to the airport. So if you're Taliban and you have a television set, or you're ISIS and want to screw up the whole process, and your goal is to keep America in Afghanistan forever and bleed us dry for another decade, this is really the road you want to hit. You want to come right down through here. So obviously, we're not going to tell you everything because we're not fucking stupid. So with that, I won't be taking any questions because all of your questions are the same and they're moronic. So thank you very much. Thank you. That's the. Does that get the point across? You think? Can I do that every so often? Can I borrow that? I should replace the seal with my little symbol. It's true. I think Nick Cage is going to capture Hal. It's entirely possible. I am a national treasure, after all. So, yes, thank you so much. So feel free we'll cut that into a clip and share it later, I guess. Yeah. But I'm sick and tired of this bullshit. I really, really am. So I will, as a matter of fact, I'm going to, since that worked as well as it did, because I just threw that together in like 2 seconds. That was literally, I just made that right now. I'm going to work on this and make a better version of it. So in case we need this in future, it will be always ready. Because quite frankly, there's been a couple of days this week in particular where I've been like, you're an asshole, and you're an asshole, and you're an asshole. And I almost like Biden's being too nice, and I almost want to like push him out of the way. Like, go have some ice cream, sir. Relax. I understand what you're doing. Go do the actual job. I'll handle these dickheads. So yes, I definitely, well, I could debate Trump, except he doesn't debate. He didn't want to show up for all the debates during the last election. He's certainly not going to start showing up now. And, oh, and by the way, I might have left this out. For everybody who says that Trump had a plan, I'd love to see it. Just bring it up. And then tell me when he was actually going to implement it. I'll hold up. Never. That's right. Never is the word. So there you go. So this is, I think it's like, we can look at Biden's remarks later on if we need, but I want to see, I think like a lot of you, what Glenn Beck thinks about this, because I think if anybody has the pulse on what it's like to live, think, and breathe like the Taliban, it's Glenn Beck. If anybody can understand the Taliban and their ridiculousness, it's Glenn Beck. It's I think he can, he sees kindred spirits in these folks. They share so much. So, but he's going to tell us, I have no doubt. This is called why. This is a question. Even it's titled with a question. This is one of those moments where apparently Glenn Beck does that. I'm going to lose my mind. Like he does that a bunch. He doesn't realize he lost it a long time ago, and he's running on fumes mentally. So, Glenn, it's lost. Your brain is a lost cause. It sank into icy waters a long time ago while the band played. What's left of your corpus callosum went down with the ship. We are looking at a gourd with white hair on it at this point. I even made my Republican husband laugh. Well, I've tried. That's why. Let's bring everybody together. I'm one of those horrible people that thinks he can be friends with anybody, almost anybody. Watch yourself. All right. So let's why, all caps, is our CIA. Well, that's CIA is always cap. Negotiating with the Taliban. Who? Yeah, what kind of an asshole negotiates with the fucking Taliban? What kind of a monster would you have to be to negotiate with, oh shit. Huh. Well, at least he didn't set an exact date for exit. Right. Well, at least he didn't make that exact date conditional where if they decided they wanted to continue to bleed us dry or any terrorist group wanted to keep us there, they couldn't just, shoot one person and we'd be in for the next year. Oh, shit. Right. That's not. Well, at least it wasn't implemented, I suppose. That's the one upside. Who are the Taliban and what do they want? It looks like they're waiting for a bus, honestly. Obviously, they're not big on razors. In the winter of 1995, a New York Times correspondent visiting Afghanistan reported that after years of brutal civil strife, a big change seemed to be afoot. A new force of professed Islamic purists and Afghan patriots had quickly taken military control of more than 40% of the country, which is 80% nothing. It was surprising, because until taking up arms just the year before, many of the fighters had been little more than religious pupils. Funny how it works out that way in the desert. It's almost like the sun exposure isn't good for your brain. Their very name meant students. The Taliban, they called themselves. A quarter century later, after outlasting an international military coalition in a war that cost tens of thousands of lives, the one-time students are now rulers of the land again. Because we got tired of it. Here, again, for fuck's sake, I'm tired of this graveyard of empires narrative. Everybody who came there decided it wasn't worth the fight anymore. Not because the fight was that vicious, because they were like, what the fuck are we, for what? What are we doing this for? What resource, and again, when you go back to like the Romans and the Mongols and stuff, they weren't looking for lithium for batteries. And we have other places we can get it to. The idea that Afghanistan is this like magical lithium playground is just friggin' dumb. And then even the oil part, like this isn't where the oil extraction comes from. Like, have you seen oil fields being set afire or any of that bullshit like you've seen in like you saw in Iraq? No. It's an opium farm and a bunch of desert. Fuck off. We don't want to be there. The Russians eventually like, look, well, maybe we'll build a pipeline some other direction. This is ridiculous. When did they first emerge? Well, obviously, 1,994 years ago, because Trump said they've been around for thousands of years fighting. So, yeah, I mean, it's right there. They arose 1,994 years. Oh, no, 1994. Sorry. So they're not as old as Alice in Chains' second record. But please tell me about their part in history. Jesus, the smoke blowing. All right, so why is he negotiating with the Taliban? Yes. Why would anyone negotiate with the Taliban? Okay, here we go.
Program, we're glad.
Sorry, hold on. I've got to turn down my other speakers. What the fuck? What? When did he join a synth pop band?
Some of the other stuff that is going on today is
well, obviously, you're smart enough not to mix your whites with your
really important, but we are trying to stay focused on what's right in front of us.
What's right in front of you? A giant touchscreen computer that I want, but I'm not quite sure what you use it for. A studio that you built with radio money, and your gut.
And that is this debacle of the Biden administration in Afghanistan.
Yeah. By the way, this will be known at some point in history as like 16 days in August or some narrative, like little story they tell about our extraction from Afghanistan. I would like you to take that in future when it appears in front of you and put that 16 days in August storyline next to 20 years of what the fuck. But by the way, every argument Glenn Beck is going to make based on this is stay forever. So just get used. Just settle in, kids. Get some, some Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, honestly, the potatoes and gravy are worth the trip. Honestly, the chicken's the modern chicken's a little too salty for me. But then again, Colonel Sanders, the real one, you fucker, baked me a cake on my 10th birthday. That's a true story. How many of you in the chat room can actually say that?
I wish I could get on the ground at the airport of Kabul.
I wish you could get on the ground at the airport of Kabul too. Outside the wall, maybe. Is there, let's see. What can we dress you up as?
I'd like to see the faces of our troops.
You're going to have a problem with that, though, because A, they're inside and they're moving people out. And you can watch the videos of it. There's lovely video of them giving water to children and cleaning up places and moving people about and sitting with them and organizing crowds and getting them on planes and getting them the fuck off. And but you don't want to really see the faces of our soldiers. You want them to be disappointed they're not staying because you can fucking leave.
Because I'm imagining that they are not happy.
Yes, that is your imagination.
At all.
At all. They're not happy. They want to stay there in 122 degree heat, fixing trucks for some fuckers who will hand it over to Al-Qaeda in the Taliban at the first sign of trouble. Yes, they're incredibly upset that they might be being moved to Germany to process people before going home.
And would just love to see them.
Yes. That's by the way, to be completely fair, that is Glenn Beck's fetish. Nothing gets him chubbing like a sad soldier.
Would just bring a camera and just pan, see what they are feeling.
Uh-huh. See what they are feeling. All right.
I imagine they want to do a lot more than they're being allowed to do.
Oh,
Yeah, do you? What do you think they want to be doing? Going out into the street, opening fire on Taliban instead of evacuating Americans? Instead of doing the job that will end the war? Instead of doing their job honorably, you would like some sort of macho Delta Force bullshit that could get them killed? But hey, the upside is Glenn and whatever sidekick's name is. The upside is you assholes would go home and sit around with your fat asses and your fresh footage and go, look how sad this soldier looked before we sent him into the city to get his brains blown out when there were no Americans left in the country because I insisted. Like, this is just so fucking dumb.
you got to believe it.
We have heard some reports over the past few hours.
Have you?
That there have been some excursions into the city to pick up some people. Again,
Yeah, it's weird that they wouldn't tell you everything. Gee whiz. I don't understand why they don't just come out to the media and tell everybody, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for gathering today. By the way, our soldiers will be in a helicopter with these markings, the number on the side of it. These are the best of the best, our special forces. So if you want to aim a rocket at it, these are the guys to shoot at. They're going to land at a building. This is the address, and all the people will be on the roof with their children if you want to go over there and, I don't know, wear some sort of vest that blows up. I don't know why they don't tell you everything.
it seems like what we're doing is begging the Taliban to allow.
Is that what it seems like? It seems like we're what? We're begging the Taliban to what? Not shoot our soldiers for a year until we can get the fuck out, even though he never put forward a plan to get everybody out in the whole goddamn year? It seems like I imagine anything that will make the narrative in my head that Trump had a magic plan. He had a magic plan. At one time, there was it with sunbeams, and everyone was going to leave Afghanistan on a rainbow of lollipops. Fucking hell.
Us to do these things. Reportedly today, the CIA director met with the Taliban. I guess negotiate.
Excuse me? Say that again. I think.
By the way, this is a setup. There is no fucking way that he said this and they hadn't talked about it before the show. So what you're about to see is some of Glenn Beck's acting.
I thought I heard you say it was our CIA director met with the Taliban.
Pompeo used to be a CIA director, and then he met with them and structured the deal that set us up to leave by May 1st with no deal to remove the Afghans that helped us or any structural plan to remove the Americans from the embassy at all.
What did you really say?
What?
Yeah, the original Trump plan left the embassy there and all the Americans in it.
I actually.
Yeah, well, just now. I misheard.
Thank you, Desert. Appreciate it, totally, to come over here and tell all of you, fine ladies and gentlemen, to thumbs up. Thanks, Desert Urbexer.
Here, I'll just read this for you.
Mm-hmm.
CIA
Well, that in deference to the fact that Glenn Beck can't read, apparently.
director secretly visited Taliban in Kabul.
Okay, a couple of problems with that. One, it's not a secret if we're reading about it.
Well, the meeting's over. Okay.
Yeah, again, not something you should broadcast.
But didn't stop you.
I'm glad they did, because the other problem I have with that is, what is the CIA director doing meeting with the Taliban?
I would guess that they are coordinating the military intelligence response, which is the people that are actually getting the folks that helped us, because they would be part of military intelligence out. And these are the people, and saying, these are the people you don't fuck with. They're leaving with us, and we're letting you know. And if you listen to us and you let these people through your checkpoints and stop fucking with them, we won't strafe bomb everything in the South the minute we leave. Because we absolutely have the power to do that. That's why. That's essentially why.
He's
He's a former diplomat.
Mm-hmm.
Met on Monday with Abdul Ghani Baradar.
Love that.
Yeah, who would meet with Abdul Baradar? I mean, isn't that guy in jail in Pakistan? Oh, right. Who would Who would meet with this guy? Much less spring him from prison.
I gotta say, the president's name was Ghani. Now we've got Ghani and the Taliban. I'm never going to be able to keep these people separate. I'm never going to know what anyone's talking about.
Well, so nothing will change. I see. That's his middle name. You don't have to say it. Just say Abdul Bardar. It's not hard. Why? I mean, but these are the guys who, spent the better part of 8 years saying Obama bin Laden.
I got news for you. I don't know who anybody is anyway.
Yeah, well, that's no surprise. It's not like you do this every fucking day. You certainly didn't know about who they were when Trump met with them last year and negotiated our exit after springing the fucker from a Pakistani jail.
Yeah, I mean, I want you to take a moment, Glenn.
Yes. Some deep breaths, perhaps, a swig of something.
To bring yourself back in time a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
We started this show before.
It's going to be the 9/11 thing.
We started doing the talk show in 98 or 99. But the syndication deal we signed to go national, we signed in August of 2001. So just weeks before.
I've told this story before.
September 11 attacks.
Yes.
And then we were supposed to start the show in January 2002. But they moved it up because of the attack. So we've been basically...
Yes, they're like, hey, the world's going to shit, and it looks like we're stampeding towards war. Who could help that move faster?
On the air since September 11th. The arc of the show, a 20-year arc.
The arc of the show. So you basically come full circle, and you still don't know what the fuck is going on there. It's been 20 years, and you don't know who the fuck the Taliban are.
Of the show.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, let's say... November 2001. I bring you back in time to that period. And I say, you know what's going to wind up happening is we're going to negotiate with the Taliban to basically give them the country.
Does he even fucking know? There are levels of dumb, but this is fucking amazing. Please, and that Donald Trump would be the one to do it, unless that's the follow-up sentence.
And then we're going to strand, and yes, Jen Psaki, I said strand thousands of Americans and the Afghans who helped us in the 20-year war.
All right. Yeah. Wait. I got it.
And then, hold on. We're going to have the CIA director go negotiate with the Taliban to hopefully move the Taliban's red line to the United States. If I were to give you that...
The what?
Scenario, let's say November 2001. How do you feel about that?
Let me give you the scenario and my response.
Great. And at that point, you were big Trump fans.
Give you the response I would have made in November. Stu.
Oh, so his name is Stu. We do know that now. We've learned that piece of. I mean, his name is Stu. His entire insides seem to be made of stew. I don't know how I'm going to keep these people straight.
I know every empire has died in Afghanistan.
Bullshit, they left.
I know that the British, the Soviet Union, there has never been...
We drove the Soviets out of Afghanistan. We gave the arms to Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen. Fuck off.
Anyone that has won a war... in Afghanistan.
Everybody gave up because they're like, what? We're fighting over a vacant lot.
But I believe in our troops, and I believe our troops will win the war. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They did. We got Osama bin Laden. We decimated Al-Qaeda down to 500 randos, and none of the senior structure are still alive. If they are, they're in other countries, not Afghanistan.
If you would have said to me, well, Glenn, yes, we're going to win the war, but then we're going to elect a president.
Thank you, Robert.
It's just going to abandon everything on the ground.
Yeah, well, that's what Trump did. That's what Trump did. Yeah. Donald John Trump abandoned everything on the ground. All the stuff that wasn't evac before he left office, could have been, should have been, wasn't. The final soldiers, all 2,500 of them, removed from Bagram Air Force Base. Some of the southern bases pulled back towards Kabul. That was the last stand of it. And then, of course, the Taliban were already moving across the country because of the deal Trump made. Anything that was still there, the only thing we weren't strafe bombing or blowing up was stuff that the Afghan army was supposed to use, and we couldn't do it then because we're still there, and technically speaking, they could still be fighting. So you're going to blow up bases with people because they have machine guns and Humvees and busted helicopters because there's only 900 soldiers still in that base fighting back against the Taliban, and fuck them. We just don't want, they're a lost cause. And then we're surprised they dropped their shit and ran.
Including our...
And yes, these, thank you, Kim. Yes, indeed, these buttholes are rooting for the Taliban.
$1 billion embassy that we built because we won the war. And for 20 years,
By the way, thanks for confirming, Glenn, that Trump's plan was always to keep the embassy there, no matter what.
Years.
No soldiers, just standard protection in Kabul.
Any girl under 20 knows the power that she has, the inherent rights that she has. But our president is just going to hand it back over to the thugs and killers that we killed and ran out 19 years ago.
Sorry, the Afghan government and the army of Afghanistan that we paid billions of dollars to train and equip are going to hand that over. Now, I would love, at this very moment, Glenn, please present your plan to invade Yemen, Central Africa, the Mongolian territories, parts of fucking Budapest where women are treated like shit, and set up 3 bases in each of those fucking places.
Then I would say that's a fantasy. That's a fantasy land. There's no way.
But then you saw the deal that Trump struck with them, and you went, holy shit, it's all coming true. Stu was telling us the future that Donald Trump would bring us. Now, granted, Donald Trump never brought us this future because even though he absolutely could have gotten us out of Afghanistan in any time in the last 4 years because nothing had changed, Donald Trump is a coward and a nutless scrotum who's incapable of making these kind of decisions, is a completely political animal and a show horse that's on its last legs. So that at no point was this actually going to play out. Had he won the election, May 1st would have come and gone. They would have said, Sebastian Gorka said it yesterday, winter's really the time you leave. We would have gotten to winter and gone, we're sticking around. Because we want the resources or whatever. It would have been a resource war again. Because we have to keep the oil or whatever.
Could happen in America.
I have a terrible news.
Wait, I thought we were talking about just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, terrible news. The guy both of you voted for set up exactly the situation you're talking about. However, Joseph Robinette Biden became president and is extracting as many as 70,000 people in a week and a half.
No, it really is incredible. I mean, I remember when
yes, you are not credible, Stu.
Administration first sort of pitched negotiating with the Taliban, and it's been a bad idea from president to president since day one.
Oh yeah, it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. So the guy who actually did it, and fucking hell, like how? I was just about to say how thick can you be, but.
Ever been a good idea to negotiate with the Taliban?
No.
Ever?
Never, not ever. And especially to spring their fucking boss from jail to do it. What the fuck are these guys thinking? Honest to God. Stu, Glenn, how dumb are you guys? This is kind of shocking. Like, I know you guys are assholes, but at least you make some, I mean, this is like go to tie your shoes, miss, and fall off a cliff level dumb. There is no fucking way they don't know that Trump and Pompeo negotiated a deal with the Taliban to exit by May 1st, didn't do any follow-up on how to get the Afghans that helped us out, slowed the SIV program down to a trickle, if not shut it off entirely so that we couldn't, didn't do anything more than any other president or any other military leader did as far as removal of gear, which is SOP, it's standard operating procedure. There is no fucking way these assholes don't know. How dumb this dumb?
No.
And sure.
I was
Sure what? Sure Trump negotiated this exit without any strategy to actually get people out? That kind of sure? You fucking twit.
crazy angry with Donald Trump when he did it. I thought it was an embarrassment when he did it.
But then afterwards, you forgot all about it. And now you're going to pretend that there was no deal in place. And Stu is not liking you right now. You were supposed to avoid this conversation, Glenn.
But that's nothing compared to this.
Well, yeah, because making a deal and following through on the deal are two totally different things. And Trump is like I said, a coward and a nutless scrotum, and is incapable of holding up his end of any deal. Ask Rudy Giuliani.
And anybody who thinks that Donald Trump would have allowed this to happen?
No, he wouldn't have, because he wouldn't have allowed the exit to happen, you dolt.
No way. Just
because, yeah, you know what part of it, though, Glenn? The leaving part.
let me just say this.
Yeah, just say this.
Let's just say, and I don't believe this for a second, let's just say he doesn't care about America at all.
Now, obviously,
That's true.
true.
Yeah, it's not true.
It is true. It is actually true. He's a self-involved asshole. Otherwise, we would have gotten out of Afghanistan because nothing materially changed on the ground in the last 4 fucking years.
Donald Trump is not going to allow Donald Trump to be humiliated, embarrassed that way.
Which is why he never left. Because everybody told him, no matter what happens, the minute we start leaving, shit's going to fall apart. And it's going to look like garbage on TV. There is very little opportunity for this to not look like Saigon. Everybody who legit had a conversation about this was saying, look, we get out, but the minute we start leaving, shit is going to hit the fan. That's why he pushed it off to his second term, and the idea that, well, if I'm my second term, it's all legacy stuff, and I'll make myself a kingmaker because I don't really give a shit after that, and we'll be out within 3 years by the time, which is why he set the May 1st date, and why we're sticking to this date, is because politically, if you wait till later in the year or into the spring of next year, it affects the election, which is why he never did it, which is why other presidents never did it.
No way.
No way.
No way.
Yeah. Well, no way, because he never follows through on anything. He's a fuck up. Trump is a fuck up. It's what he is. It's who he is. There's no version of events where we're leaving Afghanistan and it's fucking rainbows and unicorns, or it's a fucking nuke going off, because the chance that Trump would actually follow through is zero.
This is special. This is special skill of Joe Biden.
Yeah, to actually get us out and not give a fuck what assholes like you say.
Man, Joe, to be able to go down this road.
It really is.
Because
Because nobody else could. Nobody else did.
He does.
I wouldn't invite these assholes on my show. They wouldn't come anyways. I met Glenn Beck once at Politicon, and we took a picture together because I'd made everybody at the table laugh, and he leaned into, we were taking pictures, and he leaned in, but he made a face like this because he didn't know who I was, and he didn't know whether or not he should smile in the picture with me. Because if I turned out to be somebody, that he should be against later, and he was smiling in a picture with me, it would do some damage. Because he's a fucking coward.
Even seem to have the interest in protecting his own presidency.
No.
It's weird. It's almost like he's making the right decision, whether it's politically expedient or not. It's dare I say, the exact opposite of Donald Trump.
alone caring about the American troops, or let alone caring about the Afghans that helped us, or let alone caring about religious.
One moment. Let's see. Where are we going to? Okay. In Afghanistan evacuation numbers. Whoops. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Sometimes my the keyboard is set on the wrong one, you know. Let's see. Whoops. I'm typing around a corner. New Afghanistan evacuation numbers for this Monday morning by a White House official. Approximately 10,400 people evacuated from Kabul in the last day, and 37,000 people since August 14th. The U.S. has evacuated facilities approximately 37,000 people since the end of July. We have relocated approximately 42,000 people. So, yeah, but we're leaving them all behind. We're leaving them all.
Stories there that are being murdered. Let alone forget all of that.
Forget all the women and girls that use.
By the way, are you hoping they set up a dating service, Glenn, for your sister wives, since you chose to become a Mormon because that was a possibility a while back?
Hey, I mean, guys, the left has absolutely no room to talk.
Yeah, we do, actually, because the room that's being made is by our vacating Afghanistan. There's a lot of open space there.
About the treatment of women and the treatment of girls and how we have to protect. They have no credibility.
Really? Because the actual programs in all the countries like Afghanistan are all the work of, quote unquote, the left.
Have exposed themselves.
Yes, he's a Mormon. He and his wife chose to be Mormons. They were not religious. When he had kids, he decided that he wanted to be a Mormon because they give you a planet after you die. He literally went religion shopping. There was a whole he did a series of shows about it a long time ago.
It's not.
It's the phoniest bunch of religious bullshit I have ever seen in my life.
Caring at all. At all. The people who should be screaming the loudest are the woke community.
Yeah, where's the Me Too and this? And not.
Well, we're the ones wanting to evacuate those women and get them to safety and bring them to the United States. Are you for bringing them all here? Are we evacuating the mass of Afghan women and bringing them to the United States? Glenn, what date should we set? May 1st next year? To mention, we can always punt it again, right, Glenn?
Taken the Taliban from a bunch of people who basically were fighting in caves against us during the war, to one of the best and most well-armed militaries in the world.
Well, they're well-armed because we left everything behind.
Which we didn't, actually. And even the airplanes and helicopters they have don't work anymore because our contractors left and no one is servicing them, and it's 122 degrees. You dipshit.
5,898 vehicles, 599,690 weapons, 208 aircraft.
Yes, the Afghan military's entire catalog. How many Taliban pilots do you think there? Should we look again at the? Shall we go to the? Here you go. We're going to the pilot program for the Taliban right now. Their name means students, so this is them all showing up for to learn all the radio comm shorthand when you're flying an airplane. These are all future Taliban jet pilots, and trust me, they will learn how to fly before the multi-million-dollar planes rot on the runway or are bombed after we've left. I'm certain of it.
Reconnaissance equipment, 16,191. This is from
reconnaissance equipment. Binoculars.
Books.com, by the way. Communications equipment, 162,643 items. Think of
items. Communication items like headsets, radios. They're basically just listing off all the shit we gave to the Afghan military that they didn't use. But we were supposed to blow up the bases with the Afghan military in them as the Taliban moved across the country so we could kill all the people that were fighting on our side. The fuck are you talking about? What is this?
Think about this.
I'm thinking about it. And apparently, I'm actually not smelling burnt toast.
Used to go back again to 2001 for a moment. What is one of the greatest advantages?
This doesn't work out.
Oh.
It doesn't work out for us.
What's one of the reasons why we do so well in warfare when our military...
Because we have communications, we have night vision.
Night vision, right? Just take night vision for a moment.
Uh-huh.
Tens of thousands of night vision goggles and associated equipment.
That, by the way, you
paid for.
And you cannot buy in stores.
You can't buy it.
You can't buy it.
It was provided to the Afghan military. So we were supposed to train these guys to control the country and not give them radios, night vision goggles, vehicles, airplanes, guns, and bullets. Great. That's a terrific strategizing, guys. Which manga version of Sun Tzu's The Art of War did you blow your nose on the pages of to come up with that strategy, Glenn?
You just can't use it.
Yeah, Americans can't buy it.
Yeah, it's military gear and
for your use.
And so
we also can't have AK-47s, and none of us want to live in a cave.
He gave that
not none of us. A couple of you, clearly.
Afghan military, who then promptly turned it over to the Taliban.
Well, yeah, that's kind of a crucial step there that you've been leaving out till now, Stu.
As this has developed.
As it's developed. Oh, it developed, did it? So the plan that was, say, in existence in February that didn't take that into account, started to take that into account, and now, all right.
Now, if we, God forbid, if it gets out of control again and we have to go back in, which is totally possible, by the way, totally possible.
Is it?
We again build an area that is free passage for terrorists and they start blowing up our buildings, we're going to be back in there again. Don't dismiss this as if it's over, because
we'll be back in there with drones. We will not be constructing a government. We will not be constructing a fighting force. We will not have 15,000 soldiers training a bunch of assholes to drop their guns day one. We're not going to be training half the Taliban because these are the half the military just switched sides as soon as those assholes showed up. We're not going to be doing that. We're not going to be providing them with more gear. And you think that's our top of the line fucking gear? You think we gave them the best stuff?
That's the whole problem with leaving.
Don't count on
Joe. That's the whole problem with leaving. Again, stay forever. Everything that we've heard is just blather. The only sentence that matters in this is they want to stay forever. Add Stu and Glenn back to the Make Afghanistan the 51st State crowd. Not DC, not Puerto Rico, Afghanistan.
It might not be Joe Biden. Oh, it might be. Yeah, no, I'm not saying Joe Biden. It might be 10 years from now. But eventually we're going to go back in there and we're going to have to deal with a Taliban that has all this equipment.
Yeah, 10 years from now, they're going to be using the same shit. What do you think the chances are that in 10 years, the United States military is still relying on head-worn night vision as the thing that puts them over the top in battle? 10 years. Fucking 10 years. 10 years. Right.
Well, they'll have all that equipment anyway because Joe Biden's son is allowing Chinese to come in and spy on our military and buy things, through bribery, et cetera, et cetera.
That's another huge part of this.
And China...
Was that... He's allowing it. He's allowing it? So, by the way, this is Glenn Beck saying that because Hunter Biden supposedly has access to investment money from China 10 years ago, at this point, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, that this means that our military and our military intelligence are selling shit to the Chinese under the table that they wouldn't be able to figure out on their own. Things like night vision goggles. By the way, may I? Hold on. By the way, some of you may or may not be familiar with a site called Alibaba. A guy named Jack Ma, who's a alleged Chinese billionaire. And the reason I say alleged is because are you really a billionaire? Are you really a billionaire if you can't leave your country with your money? I don't think so. If your money's no good anywhere but where you are, you're not really a billionaire. You're kind of an odd. You might be a high-priced prisoner at that point. But this is Alibaba. This is a site that that's a Chinese site created by Jack Ma. There it is, right there, Alibaba.com. And this is you could buy stuff on here. This is like the Amazon of the world. Like this is you can buy buildings on here. It's ridiculous. I mean it. Like they'll send you a kit for a skyscraper. It's the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. By the way, don't buy one. They'll fall apart. Here's some, there you go, $3,100. There's a pair of night vision goggles. These are precisely the exact ones that military wears. Here's another one. Chinese military factory custom-made special military NVG Gen 3 night vision goggles. Those are $18.45 to $25.45 a piece. One piece minimum order. You can buy a bunch of them though. Here's the Luke Skywalker style one. Here's a site that does that. Here's a long form Amazon hot sell night vision goggles, binoculars, for these guys. I imagine if the Chinese got a hold of our gear and were able to reverse engineer, they're going to find some of this stuff in the desert and it's almost as if fucking this is not new science. LNU military head mounted night vision helmet for this. Here, check this out. Let's see what this one is. Look at this. Look, this is some spacey looking shit. Look at this thing. There you go. And they mount it right there and you tack it right on to the top of your helmet. And then that's what it attaches to. And then there's the vision thing that clips onto the front of there. And then you just lower it on your eye. He looks very determined and quite white, I will say. There you go. There's an optical. Here's even how to use it. There you go. You just this is how it works, and you see how nice that is. Night vision goggles. There's a little thing right there, and you just attach it right over your eyeballs, and there you go. It's gee whiz, Glenn. What if the Chinese got a hold of some, I don't know, technology? The fuck is he talking about?
It's going to give them all of that.
Yeah. Oh my God. What if? Holy shit. The big worry is, of course, Humvees. Let's see. Let's look up. Let's see. Humvee. Yeah. What if they discover the Chinese discover Humvees and start figuring out how to make those and sell them? By the way, you want one? Here's a real one. There's a talking about 4x4 off-road car. It's got a 12-month warranty. It's $8,800. There you go. How about this guy right here? There's a little MRAP extras on it, on the top of it. $210,000. You only get one though. Here's one for $15,000 and $19,000. This one's pretty sweet looking. What do you think? Look at this guy. If you get 100 or more, you get a deal. They're only 15 grand. I'm just saying, it's a fairly badass vehicle. It's probably built for shit, but that's got that extra like deflection armor in case it somebody, that's what it normally looks like. And they put this shield on the front in case there's an IED or shit gets in the engine while you're trying to drive away. You can get one of these guys. How about this truck? You want one of these? What the fuck is this thing? That's for sale. Glenn, what if they figure out how to get a big yellow water taxi? It's only $245,000. You can order it right there or whatever. Here's another Humvee you can buy, Glenn. What if they get a hold of these things and they figure out how to do it? Look at this. They'll turn them into campers where the kids can play. Look at that. Look, they're ladies and gentlemen, they're getting a look at the big board. Yeah, no one in China is wondering how the fuck to make night vision goggles, you dunce.
Did you see that China, I think Saudi Arabia and Russia and Iran have just made a deal?
Yeah, good luck with that, guys. Have fun playing with your shit in the sand. I'm sure it'll work out. Bye.
And China and Russia have also made a deal with the Taliban.
Right. Everybody's making a deal with them right now. And I'm sure the fact that the Taliban is just a loosely knit group of tribes that will eventually start blowing each other up for control will have no effect on pipelines, gear, or mining in the state. We are lucky to get the fuck out when we can.
I think there's an axis of evil.
Yes, and if they can get bogged down in the desert dicking around forever, good luck to them. Bye.
Being formed. And we strangely are trying to form our own apparent axis of evil. Where's the Allied power here?
Don't copy it.
By not getting bogged down and spending $148 to $300 million a fucking day.
Organizational structures. Can I also say
exactly Chinese tofu technology, the tofu dung buildings all over. Yeah, wait till Chinese like the Chinese. Hold on. Why is this acting weird? Buildings. Yeah, imagine if the Chinese roll into Afghanistan and start building these high quality building. Typhoon exposes tofu dreg project in eastern China. There you go. There we go. There you go. There's this side of it. You see these balconies just falling off. How about this guy? How about the whole face of the building falling off? Imagine the control the Taliban is going to enjoy with folks like these building all their schools and all your libraries and all your, yeah. And let's, don't forget, hold on, this guy, these right here. And yeah, so this is what the, that's a Nigerian school that the Chinese built. Yeah, I'm sure that everything will work out and that Russia is really going to eat our lunch along with China in this process.
We have this idea of arming other countries, and it doesn't always seem to work out the best possible way.
May I rephrase that a little bit? It never works out.
So we shouldn't stay there. We would have to, if we stayed at all, by the way, we would have to continue training their military, maintaining the airplanes, maintaining all the gear, providing them with more guns, updating their materials, giving them new technology. Every time we have a new technology, they're going to get the cast-offs again and again. This is so odd.
But can I at least, this is just an idea, and can we float, because this safety tree?
Hey, safety tree. You can do it. I'm not going to cancel you.
Safe space.
Yeah.
Can we at least put self-destruct buttons in these things? I want a self-destruct. The Taliban takes over. We blow up all the weapons from one remote button.
Yeah, because no one would ever get a control of that. Imagine the Americans move in and they're going to help your military, but everything they give you has a self-destruct button. I mean, when I thought that they couldn't get any dumber.
Drone.
Your new slightly used Humvee. Thank you, Candy. I appreciate that. Yes, don't forget, guys. If you want, let's see. I do not want a Humvee off of Alibaba, but if we were going to start, let's see, what could I get off here that would be pretty cool? Let's see. If I really could get something off of here, let's see. Let's see. If I could honestly buy something off here, like this guy would work for me though. A flat pack modular mobile shipping container office prefab 20 feet by 40 feet storehouse built out of a container. They just ship it to me. That'd be cool. $799 a piece. If I get from 1 to 12 of them, that'd be nice. Prefabricated luxury modular house, whatever. By the way, when I'm mayor of Los Angeles, we're going to use city money to order a bunch of these on the cheap as temporary housing for the homeless as people transition in, especially until we get, more housing built long term in there, that these would be, functional spaces where people could sleep, and you could make a bunch of them, and then you could start stacking them but I have to say this thing's pretty cool. This one right here, they put that in the backyard. I wouldn't put the plumbing part of it. I think this is really just a sit outside kind of thing. These things have plumbing hookups. These do, but that's not what I want this one because it looks like it's from The Thing. Just like be out in a winter storm. Yeah, but they give you like modular things, and then you stack them or you put them next to each other like that. There you go. Then you can fly them in. Now they'll be shitty and they won't last very long. But as temp housing goes, they're incredibly cheap, and they would help certainly with homeless issues temporarily until you could get people in more permanent housing. And it certainly would work in situations where you had an emergency. They could be stored in warehouses, and then I'm just saying, getting one for the ranch. All right, B. Gabriel, there you go. They are indeed cool, but they are also, just for the record, largely shit. Although I've seen a few of these things around when I was. Who the fuck put this here? Look, it's teetering off the edge. Who's the jackass that put that? Look at that. Look right there. Put the whole foot. What are you doing? You wanted it right up against the water so it looked nice, but it's so far back. There's an air conditioning unit in the top. It's glass on this side. There you go. It's just a little room, a little office thing. And you can put the shower right there. There's somebody inside. They're taking pictures of it. $1,400. Not real brick, by the way, just for the record. That's a sticker on the outside. It's not brick. And if you can shit in your own house, or you can build an outhouse or something like that, this worked very well. It's just kind of an office space outside on property, whatever that would be. What that's for? $1,400. There you go. Just saying. What? Yep. Yeah. If you want to, you could fish out the back. No, they do not float. Lolima. They do not. This thing, I'm gonna guess, does not float. But imagine, yeah.
When they take
if that's where I put super chats on something I could buy off of Alibaba, that's in the ballpark. Then we'd move the studio out there, and I'd have to hook it up to air conditioning and put solar panels on it, and then that's the next step. Whatever. Anyways, don't forget to like and subscribe and give a thumbs up and share the show and all that stuff.
With a drone and they go to bomb somebody, it just flies back to the United States and lands safely. Why? I want a button that makes. I want it to just. You know how they have those like ink packets that when you steal money from a bank they explode. I want basically some version of that in every weapon we give to anybody else. So at some point when we decide they've gotten into the wrong hands, we just press the button and they all just go away.
I don't think
that we do have that. It's technically called obsolescence. We are always advancing our shit. They're not.
You've gone far enough.
No.
I would like the night vision goggles that if you steal it or, we just leave it behind, you push a button and knives go through your eyes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. It's hilarious comedy. comedy jokes from Glenn Beck, because that's what you want from your partners on the ground. By the way, all the stuff we're giving you, all we have to do is push a button and it'll kill you. So that's good.
That's what I would like, but maybe it's just me.
And this is consistent across all of them. The reason they are making these kind of jokes about this stuff, and this is where their flailing attempt at making this, kind of just fodder to fill in, is because ultimately, what did we just watch? That's a 11 minute 42 seconds long, that clip from Glenn Beck's show, which he posted himself, which has 8,000 views, and he allegedly has 602,000 subscribers. My videos get about that sometimes, and I've got 20,000 subscribers. But, draw your own conclusions about whose followers are actually genuine human beings. And you are. But they have to make jokes like this because ultimately, in that whole 11 minute, 42 second piece was, we're staying forever. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that for the $5. Like your show, and when you're on Stephanie Miller, I enjoy being on there as well. It's a good time. So now, obviously, at this point, we need an expert. We got to go to the experts. We got to see who, and by expert, I mean an expert in wearing the same fucking shirt every day and never moving this stack of work. Fucking hell, that piece of paper is the same one. It's just been sitting there. What do you do? Don Jr., what the fuck do you do with your time besides shoot these videos his whole fucking job is Rumble videos. Guys, okay, guys, okay, guys, okay, guys. So, what do you think? How fast before guys? Is it the first word or the third word? Is it the second word? Okay, guys, or just guys? I think it's okay. I think he goes with okay, guys first. Let's see. Oh, and they got to do it.
Guys, you're not going to believe this one.
Oh, it was the first word.
Guys, you're not going to believe this one, but I'm reading it right off of my little list that the Heritage Foundation gave me. Guys,
Tell us.
Anyone want to take a guess at how long it will go from Joe Biden's, remember, America, it's back. America's back. To ISIS is back under this president and our woke generals? Because I think the answer is really, really quickly. Because
Really quickly. I mean, just the grasp, the vocabulary, the turn of phrase, the wit. I don't know who can also deal on such a level with a man of this. All right.
just today, apparently the Taliban, according to the Washington Post, has rejected extending the August 31st U.S. pullout deadline, calling...
Really? How'd they feel about the May 1st deadline?
a red line. Like, is that like an...
Jesus Christ.
A red line that doesn't really mean anything, or is it like a Taliban red line that means something? Remember the Obama red line? He drew the red line. You're not to... They walked across, they slapped him on a world stage, essentially.
Did they? Essentially?
And he did nothing.
It's weird because your dad just let them stay on that side of the red line. He didn't like come in and go, yeah, that was a red line. I'm sticking to it. Now they just fucking, he was like, nah, come on in, guys. Rutchins, you want our base? Knock yourself out.
So he drew another red line, and they did it again. And the world watched, and they laughed at how pathetic America had become.
It's weird that the American, like, for example, let me give you an example if I may. Let's say you set a date for withdrawal and you don't honor it. And then you set another date for withdrawal and you don't honor it. And then you set another date and then on for 10 years. And then your ballless scrotum of a father sets a date outside his presidency that he never thinks he'll have to live up to. And even then sets no plan in motion to make it actually possible. At what point does Biden setting a red line like, yeah, we're getting the fuck out? That's a red line for us too.
Kind of weak leadership. So,
kind of.
unlike Obama's red line,
Why do you have to read to see that? What the fuck are you staring at?
Unlike Obama's red line, that
I think the Taliban actually have resolve. They actually mean it. The Taliban have outsmarted Joe Biden and Team America Last.
Team America Last. Oh, yeah, you're right. Put it in quotes because it's bullshit.
From moment number one in this whole thing.
From moment number one. I think moment number one was actually when your dad and Pompeo sprung Baradar from a Pakistani prison. I mean, it obviously goes back way farther than that. But in terms of the pullout.
Got 88 billion.
Speaking of pullout, your dad couldn't have. I mean, honestly, it would have saved us all so much trouble.
Dollars worth of U.S. military grade equipment from it. Didn't even have to fire any shots. Now, they're firing shots now, but it's at like civilians in the street. You know, they probably start beheadings pretty quickly if they haven't already. We know they probably have. I just don't have the exact details, so I don't want to get fact-checked and thrown off.
Well, you're just making shit up, you know. But good way, like, this is, by the way, a technique. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, where people like Glenn Beck did this a couple of times in his video. This is something Don Jr. does all the time. Dinesh D'Souza does it constantly, which is make something up that's a terrible thing that isn't happening. Insist that it is happening, and then complain that anyone will fact check you if you continue to insist that the thing that isn't happening is happening, because it's probably happening and they're just lying. It's this circular way of like sort of manufacturing a version of reality to support your narrative when there is none.
Social, but the Taliban have all the leverage.
Look at him reading this bullshit. Look at him. Dude, the video's 4 minutes and 28 seconds.
make sure you pinch your fingers on the words that you need to say.
It, and so does the rest of the world. And they are going to use this to extract even more from the U.S. Even more than...
Yeah, even more than $300 million a fucking day for 20 years.
$88 billion they already got. Even more than essentially the end of a 20-year forever war that they basically came back in and took it back over.
Is that supposed to be a sentence? The end of the 20-year forever war, which is ending because Biden's ending it and your dad didn't have the nuts to do it. And yet stay for... All right.
They're going to use this and play the Biden administration and continue to show exactly how pathetic this administration and its woke nonsense generals really are. Again
What?
This is not an Obama red line, in my opinion. This is a real red line. Any other president would tell him to pound sand, but Crazy Joe, you know, when he's not in the basement, he's making bad decisions. He's out there probably saying, oh, we got to give them whatever they want. It's the Taliban. They're in control.
Is that what they're saying? Is that, I mean, honestly, what do you have to draw from as far as a reality other than what your dad did, which is, I mean, obviously, if your dad did that, that's what everybody else is going to do because your dad is the exemplary Ubermensch in the world.
And he's probably right, because Joe allowed them to create the largest hostage situation in American.
Your dad made the deal last year.
Right? Jen Psaki says there are no Americans left stranded, even though her national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, said there are thousands or maybe tens of thousands of Americans still stuck in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we're getting them out. That's the whole point. If there weren't, we would be gone already. We are removing those people. The only people who are going to get quote unquote stuck there are the people who don't want to leave.
They're playing word games, hoping for the media to do their thing and defend them at all costs. But through
defend them at all costs? Yeah, that. Everybody is on board with staying in Afghanistan in the news right now, except for Lawrence O'Donnell.
Competence, he handed...
Look at him reading again. Dude, it's 4 minutes. You can't fucking ramble like about this for 4 minutes?
...of American lives over to terrorists, right? Trump was impeached over a phone call Joe Biden, just fine. Largest hostage situation in America, just fine. 88 billion of American military equipment in the hands of a terrorist regime, just fine. Remember, guys, they're going to honor women's rights other than the ones that are beating in the streets. You know?
That are beating in the streets?
It was not an unexpected development, folks.
Well, no, I mean, everybody knew that whenever we left, it was going to look like shit, which is why your coward of a father never followed through, because he didn't want the bad press of just the general reality of the extraction. There was no version of reality where leaving didn't look like this.
Who's been watching? So this is a real red line, and
my mic is peaking, or his mic is peaking. He might be a little loud. I might be a little loud. Let's see. I'll bring that down a little bit. Hopefully.
Man is now in charge, right? Like Captain Phillips, I'm the captain now. That's what Joe Biden is hearing from the Taliban. And
is it?
Everyone in the world.
Yeah, except in this situation, in the Captain Phillips, that was actually Captain Phillips's fucking boat, and the people took it. In this situation, he's yelling. I gotcha. In this situation, Captain Phillips would have boarded the other guy's boat, stayed there for 20 years, and then when a helicopter came to get him, said, okay, here's your boat back.
Knows it. We probably are just now going to follow the orders of the Taliban, because that's all Joe is probably capable of at this point.
Oh yeah, is that what is that the way you talk about the American president and our military and our soldiers on the ground? The patriotism, I'm just overwhelmed by it. I'm surprised a flag doesn't drop amazingly, like just foof behind him, and we all don't spontaneously start the Pledge of Allegiance. This is incredible.
He ceded control. He ceded American dominance to the freaking Taliban, guys.
American dominance? He ceded American dominance to the Taliban. Sorry, who's this guy? Sorry, who's this guy? Let's see, what does it say? Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State at the time, meeting with the Taliban's chief negotiator, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, in November. Psst, this is obviously fake news. It's August. So, thank you, Bean Toes. I intend to. It's getting there. It's getting, like, you can't really see it when I wear a dark shirt, but look at this. Look at this business, huh? It's coming down the shoulder. It's past my clavicles, and that's the goal. This is the shortest part where I had it, tight on the sides before it started growing, and that's just now starting to catch up. It's good. But anyway, so sorry. Yeah, we now know from Glenn Beck that it is only an idiot would negotiate with the Taliban, and according to Don Jr., this whole thing was set in motion by Joe Biden last November.
Watching it. I think the Biden administration is staffed by a...
Look at this. Read that shit. Look at him reading this shit. You think the Biden administration is staffed by what? What? Who wrote this down on a little piece of paper for you, you dipshit?
Of idiots.
Really? That's it? You had to write down staffed by a bunch of idiots on a piece of paper and read it? You couldn't riff on staffed by a bunch of idiots. That's good stuff. I need to put that down on paper. Dad, I had a great idea. In my video, I'm going to say, I'm going to go guys a bunch of times, and then I'm going to say staffed by a bunch of idiots. Good job, son. Fucking hell. You had to write that down. All right.
They're literally saying, Billiken saying, leaving Americans to get to the Kabul airport on their own is the best way to do this. Really? They got to run the gauntlet of the terrorist regime? Really?
Apparently there isn't a gauntlet. Apparently there are checkpoints and people are getting through. As a matter of fact, people are hanging out in front of the gates like they were absolutely jamming to get out. And this was because of the Afghans that wanted to get the fuck out of their own country. But let's see. Let's just look at Kabul airport. Granted, let's see. Here you go. 2 hours ago. Evacuation flights out of Kabul are picking up. Here's what it's like at the airport. Quit. Get out of there, the crazy ad. The Biden administration's evacuation efforts in Afghanistan have gained considerable momentum in recent days, now far exceeding the initial daily goals. Far exceeding the initial daily goals after a chaotic and disjointed start. You mean when the Afghans themselves, who weren't the interpreters, weren't us, weren't just people leaving their own fucking country, refugees fleeing their own country, going to the civilian side of the airport, jammed up the fucking works. No surprise. The White House said Tuesday that morning that at least 12,700 people have been evacuated by 37 U.S. military flights, and 8,900 have been evacuated by coalition flights over the past 24 hours. The Pentagon added that there are a little bit above 5,000 people at the airport in Kabul waiting to board flights, which are now leaving every 45 fucking minutes. Additionally, two defense officials told CNN on Tuesday that the first U.S. troops have started leaving the country as the evacuation effort enters its final week. Soldiers are already leaving. I personally thought they weren't going to be getting people out, soldiers out, until this weekend. But apparently, they're so far ahead of schedule getting our people out and getting the other Afghans that we support out that they're actually starting to extract some of the non-crucial personnel. That's an improvement on all fronts. But the U.S. is still up against the clock. President Joe Biden will stick for now with the August 31st deadline to withdraw troops, according to a senior administration official. We arrived let's see. What matters? You got into Afghanistan on Sunday. What was your impression when you first got on the ground? We arrived mid-afternoon on a Qatari flight and was pleased and relieved to see quite large, well-ordered queues of people already being loaded onto aircraft from around the world. So the kind of awful scenes that Clarissa Ward had witnessed on her way out in the very early stages of the evacuation were not being repeated by the time I got in. But there were very large numbers, and there were also, of course, very large numbers of people pressed up against the wall outside, and indeed on that day, although we didn't know it at the time exactly, but on that day, 7 people were killed in crushes against the walls, a lot of them close to the British military camp, where they are actually in charge of the security of their area. Yeah, so there is a constant circulation of aircraft, mostly big cargo lift C-17s, and these propeller planes are kind of NATO aircraft. There's a small number of civilian aircraft. I'm seeing Cam Air, which is an Afghan airline that took several hundred people off. I watched that take off this afternoon. So there most certainly has been very significant increase that's borne out by the statistics, which show, according to the United States, that 21,000 were evacuated over a 24-hour period. That's both U.S. and coalition evacuees. Americans evacuated about 12,000 of them. Today, by lunchtime, the Americans had evacuated about 9,000 people. The numbers of people waiting to be evacuated seem to be sitting between 4,000 and 5,000. As small numbers of people were now able to get in, but everything is much, much more slickly organized, and there's no great surprise. People should get better at what they do, and nobody's had any practice. And nobody's had any practice at this kind of operation, so that it was chaotic to begin with, and now is pretty slick. Is no great surprise. Yes, it is. You're taking it for granted that in a situation like this, we could get to the point where it's pretty slick. Pretty slick. That's the descriptor. From the same networks that saying like, oh my God, pearl clutching.
Guys.
UK, France, Britain sending in teams to help extract their people, but we can't be bothered until the clock runs out because the Taliban's in charge, or, we just run out of resources.
Is that why? Or is it because we have an agreement that if we don't go through with rifles and pick people up, we can just drive in and get them, or they can come out their own, then there's a ceasefire. But if we break the ceasefire we brokered, it endangers the people who are trying to get out and makes the mission harder. But again, this is this macho Delta Force bullshit. We're supposed to roll in there with trucks and fucking Chuck Norris this shit.
We have the resources. What we don't have is we don't have the balls and we don't have the will. And that's...
Sorry, you're talking about your dad again, who, nothing changed this year to last year or the year before or the year before. So, balls and will, I beg your pardon?
Joe Biden doesn't, and his pathetic administration doesn't. Keep watching, folks.
Keep watching, folks. The world's going to end. And guys, that's it. That's all you got. That Biden doesn't have any balls or will, because he's the guy who, after 20 years, is getting us out. 20 years. 10 years ago, he was against the surge and saying, we gotta go. And nobody listened. And Robert Gates is like, Biden's been wrong about every major, foreign policy decision over the last 40 years. Well, apparently, judging from where we are with this military in Afghanistan and this government in Afghanistan, that he was right about shoring it up for no fucking reason for 10 years, because it was just going to go back to where it was. We could have spent the last 10 years using humanitarian aid and international pressure and drone strikes on Taliban groups in the South and done more for extracting Afghan women and girls during that time. But no. No, he didn't have balls or will.
Guys, you're not going to...
Guys.
All right. So, now, in the world of expertise... now that we're talking about getting people out, now that we're talking about, we got somewhere in the order of 21,000 people extracted from Afghanistan in the last 24 hours, 12,000 by the U.S. The vast majority of people being removed are Americans. And this does not include commercial flights that are leaving all the time. And apparently a flight from Kabul to Delhi still only costs you $147, which boggles my fucking mind. But, I mean, I don't know what the USD version of life is there. So that could be closer to $500 or $700 as far as what Afghans are paying US, kind of comparatively in their own life. But no one is saying. But Dinesh D'Souza apparently needed to bring his wife on to discuss the real problem with the evacuation coming up from Afghanistan, not the crush near the airport, not the fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban, it reverting back to its government before we came in, not the fact that we're finally leaving after 20 years. Oh no. The real issue, the real concern, the real danger. What can we expect with mass importation of Afghan refugees? Yeah. I'm curious. I'm sure that Dinesh and Debbie D'Souza will be welcoming them with open arms and recognizing that these will be valuable Americans, that they will recognize the safety and the appreciate the society they've been brought into, especially after living in Afghanistan. I'm sure they won't fearmonger about any of these people really just being a sleeper cell.
Debbie, we're talking about
Hold on.
I'm back with Debbie. We're talking about Afghan refugees and
yes, and that's thank God you pulled in the big guns.
large numbers, and are we going to take them? And should we take them? Here's a tweet by a guy named Zaid Jalani.
So we're choosing policy by tweet. Okay, good.
And he's responding to Steve Cortez. Now, Steve Cortez goes, the very last thing America needs right now is a swarm of migrants from a battle-torn wasteland. But this Jelani goes, wait a minute. He goes, you're supposed to be conservatives. These are family-oriented people. They may be tribal, but they're hardworking. They love the United States. And then I think something that
they'll work for slave labor wages.
Very interesting. He goes on to say, these people may come from primitive cultures, but they're very unspoiled. Now,
yeah, that's true. None of them have an Instagram account, which is the first step towards Satan worship.
In fairness, you and I were looking at a little social media clip this morning, and you basically have this boy. He's like 23 years old. He's wearing a dress, and he goes, I want to talk about the fact that I'm gender fair. FAER, gender fair, which I guess is that you're non-binary, you're not male or female, but you sort of lean to the feminine side. And then he goes,
So this is his version of spoiled, by the way. Basically, we're about to watch Dinesh D'Souza's own internalized bigotry roll out and sort of move into wishful thinking, where maybe we get some, sort of Taliban adjacent Afghans over here. Maybe they'll kick this kid's ass and turn him into a real man. Like Dinesh.
we want to distinguish gender fair from gender floor, which is non-binary but leaning to the masculine side. My point is, look at what we've created in the United States. So when we say, we want to set up a high standard, these immigrants don't meet it, or these migrants don't meet it, my question is, are we better off with some Afghan family that's going to start from the ground up?
It'll take them years before they decide they're gender fluid.
Look at what's happened with Cuban families, Venezuelan families, Eastern European families.
But that's a completely different culture. The Catholic Hispanic culture is completely different.
This is going to be lovely.
These people that come from the 11th century Muslims. They are. You can't.
Yeah, Dinesh, they are. They're from the 11th century. The communications agents that worked and translated for our soldiers and threw themselves in front of bullets in some cases to protect our soldiers because they work so closely with them, that are raising children and don't want to live under the Taliban. They're like 11th century. Holy fuck.
The two.
Yeah, but we do have, we have Muslims in America. In fact, I understand that.
Yeah, she doesn't seem pleased, though. Look at the face she's making the minute you said, yeah, we have Muslims in America.
Very Western, though.
Very Western. Yeah. Cowboy hat Muslims.
Western, very modern.
Jesus Christ. Thank you, Raphael.
They don't dress like the 11th century. You saw that photo of the Taliban, and then the background, the photo of that teacher, on the rock.
From the beginning of Islam.
And they're all dressed exactly the same. How scary is that? These people.
Yeah, imagine a situation where everybody wore, I don't know, let me go out on a limb, 3-button golf polo shirts. And that was sort of the uniform. And every day they woke up and, Jesus Christ! I'm fine.
Come here to America. And do you really think they're
Seriously, do they have one shirt drawer at that house? And I do mean drawer because, look, I recognize I have a series of t-shirts that I wear for my gray man outfit that I basically wear every day. And some of them are crew necks and some of them are V-necks. But they basically, I put them on a hanger because I'm doing a show, for crying out loud.
Macy's and buy clothing there,
Well,
I'm just thinking, I don't know.
There are immigrants.
Yeah, these are Macy's Muslims. Holy fuck. These guys are adorable. This is the worst double date I've ever been on in my life. I'm sitting across the table going, are these friends of yours? What do you mean you met them on an app? What the? Can we check, please? Thank you.
America, admittedly from Europe, but speaking German or not speaking a word of English.
Yeah, but
it sometimes takes a generation or so for them to assimilate. I think the question to me is not even so much can we assimilate them, because
no, of course not.
But
we don't want to assimilate them. They're from the 11th century. Well, it's better if we don't and just set them loose on this gender fluid kid.
Assimilate them. But my question is, assimilate them to what?
Yeah, to what? Democracy? Freedom? Oh my God, can you imagine presenting a version of freedom where they can be anything they want? How will they stop themselves? We're going to spoil these lovely 11th century barbarians and turn them into gender fluid Instagram models. What the fuck?
In other words, think of the difference between, say, you and me on the one side and Ilhan Omar on the other.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, she owns an iron.
She is assimilated to a left-wing, anti-American culture.
What happens though if these guys do the same thing?
Yeah. What happens then, Dinesh? Huh? They get over here, they're wearing their 11th century uniforms, and then they start hanging out with Ilhan Omar in Minneapolis, and they don't go to any of the music clubs and realize what a gift Prince was to the world?
That's the question.
Because perhaps they see conservatives, Republicans,
Uh-huh.
as not wanting them here.
Yeah, where would they ever get that idea? Besides you, Deborah.
And the left Democrats do, but not for the reasons that we might think. But
No, we want them to come over here so we can turn them into gender fluid Instagram models, clearly. You know, I think you'd be a great American if you shaved and tried some rouge.
they're, more votes. What?
Yeah, they're gonna vote with us. Yeah, so we're. Let me see if I follow you on this, because I'm starting to get a brain cramp, you dumbasses. So the Democrats are the side of gender fluid Instagram models who are arguing about the variant degrees that they are or are not masculine or feminine, and the Taliban leaning Afghans are going to come over here and vote leaning Democratic because they're 11th century barbarians. What?
They see them as their friend. And
Yeah, sure. Yeah, until they start beating up the kid in the dress, I guess. Right? Then we would have an issue? What?
start voting for this guy that thinks he's not a person. I mean, that he's like an asexual,
He's a
gender-free
fair.
person, right? So they, in a sense,
He thinks he's not a person. I think he thinks he's a person with a very distinct identity. But that, I mean, you do realize that part of freedom is to have extremes. I will grant to both of them that in Afghanistan, they don't have this kind of problem. Well, maybe they do. Let's see. Afghanistan, boys, sex, Taliban, something along those. Let's say. Let's see. This is. Now, granted, these aren't the folks that are coming over, but apparently, okay. By the way, I let me see if I can do this. I don't know that. Whoops. Luckily, there's nothing like that in the United States in terms of religious beliefs. But this was a long time ago. You know what I mean? This was August 24th, 2021. Oh, at 1 o'clock. A Texas pastor will spend 3 decades behind bars for secretly filming children as young as 11 years old getting dressed, bathing, toweling off at his church. David Pettigrew and an accomplice set up hidden cameras in several locations in at least 2 counties by disguising them as hooks, clocks, charging blocks, a smoke detector, a picture frame, an air conditioner adapter, and even a pen. They didn't buy disguising them. No, they bought cameras that look like that. The former pastor was arrested last year. Wait, who was president last year? Later admitted that he filmed a child in his home and that he and his co-defendant secretly recorded multiple children at the Denison Church of the Nazarene in Grayson County, about 75 miles north of Dallas. The victims were about 11 to 14 years old at the time, and they were unknowingly filmed. You know how they caught him? Pettigrew 49 also uploaded some of the footage to the internet, prompting 2 websites in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children to contact authorities. According to prosecutors, an investigation led to Pettigrew's home and church in August of 2020. That's him. I don't know. Maybe we should trade him.
Protecting, or not protecting, but by voting for Democrats are going to be protecting these people by default.
This is the point. I mean, but what I'm saying.
Yes. All these Afghans that helped us, who are normal, like family rearing, honest, decent human beings, are really just secret Taliban who, in spite of their hatred of gays, are going to vote with Democrats because we're going to spoil them by allowing them to become gender fluid Instagram. I've gone blind. I don't know what happened. I tried to think like Dinesh D'Souza and I broke my brain.
That if the unified conservative view is don't take the Afghans, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
it is? Sorry, what?
Unified conservative view is don't take the Afghans, right?
Run that by me again, dipshit.
Protecting these people by default.
This is the point. I mean, but what I'm saying is that if the unified conservative view is don't take the Afghans, right?
Right. Hey, welcome to another episode of Quiet Part Loud with Double D D'Souza's, Debbie and Dinesh, the dipshit brigade. Right. Yes. Precisely that.
And then the political reality is, and we don't have a say in this because the Biden people are going to decide this, they do.
Yeah, you did lose an election. That is true.
The Afghans, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because the Afghans come here, and even though they might be more emotionally inclined to a party of upward mobility, more inclined toward.
She's not buying it at all, Dinesh. This is basically what him trying to talk her into sex looks like. Look at her face and look at him. This is just no. I think both of us have an obligation to take the trash out. Look, honey, it gives me pleasure, and I don't think it's too much to ask you to do it, considering what I do. Look at her face.
Associating with people.
She's just literally, she's trying to get us to break up this conversation. We are now the couple across the table going, will you talk to this asshole, please? No. They're 11th century barbarians. We are not bringing them here. I don't care how much you... This is what happens when I marry one of them.
Who have moral values and a moral anchor, are more traditional in their way of life.
I don't know that she's buying that. I think she's going to have... There's going to be a need to interject.
Nevertheless, they go, those people don't really want us here. Those people are trying to kick us out. Therefore, let's go to this other party. Yeah, there's some weirdos over there, but on the other hand, they seem to be far more welcoming.
Well, yeah, it's almost like the American culture is one of personal freedom, and if people want to be a fucking weirdo, they absolutely have every right to be, and just because you think they're a weirdo doesn't mean they're weird. You could be the weird one because you don't get it. So that's the part that comes part and parcel to being an American. If you want an authoritarian regime that dictates your sexual behavior from the top down, you had a country you could have stayed in, apparently.
I'm afraid.
But apparently, they can't wait to get the fuck out of there. Maybe they're like, oh my God, look how fucking weird these people are. But I guess you can just be you. What an odd situation.
Well, my Venezuelan friends take the same view.
Uh-oh. You know? Yeah. I'm going to get a bunch of gender fluid Venezuelans up here.
Because as you know, the reason that they're leaving Venezuela or Cuba is because they don't want to be a socialist or communist country. And so
right. But, in that freedom part, in the, like, they're coming here to be good old fashioned Ted Nugent American patriots. Come on back. Come on, let's wire that into me. Come on, everybody. Who wants to get on this caravan of freedom? The only reason they're supposedly coming here is that they know that part and parcel to the whole freedom thing comes with other people acting in a way that you cannot control and you have no fucking say in, you dumbass.
I mean, here, and they're voting for the party that embraces that ideology. So in a way, they are voting for the exact same thing that they left that country behind.
No. Somebody on Twitter saying they're gender fluid is not communism.
I don't know about the Afghans.
Some of her best friends are Venezuelan.
Here and voting for that.
I don't know. She may be Venezuelan. Maybe that's the reference that she's making. I have no idea. Either way, both of them sound fucking gross.
Type of lifestyle, because obviously nobody subscribes to that.
No. Subscribes to what? I was laughing about your attitude.
I don't know about the Afghans coming here and voting for that type of lifestyle, because obviously nobody subscribes to that.
Yeah, but here's a question, and can I float this for you? Pseudo right-wing conservative individual freedom assholes. Maybe someone's identity in that regard shouldn't be up for a vote. In America, maybe no mass of people should be able to forcibly insist upon or forcibly deny someone's actual identity, no matter what the fuck it is. As long as it doesn't harm anyone and they can do their job and exist as a normal human being, I give a rat fuck. And obviously I have skin in the game because as a closet glamvestite, I look forward to the day when I can fully express myself in in my Zaphod Bibelbrox level clothing that I would like to wear every single day of my life. But I don't, because it takes away from the comedy sometimes. It's distracting. It's like wearing a crown. Yeah, they're cool, but it's when you're ordering butter, it just seems weird.
But they may come here and embrace a Moulin Rouge way of life because those were the people that had their arms wide open for them.
How did Creed work its way into this? I don't know. With arms wide open, you can wear whatever you want. With arms wide open, you can use an anti-gay taunt. With arms wide. All right. Moulin Rouge? Moulin Rouge. What the fuck are you talking? I don't know what that is, Professor Bud. I don't know. What's a Moulin Rouge way of life? I think maybe I think we're all getting an awful picture of the sex games these two play.
You were watching this photo of these, 800 Afghans. Interestingly,
800 Afghans in a C-17 being flown somewhere else. These aren't folks that are coming to the United States, by the way. These are refugees. They were taken to, I think, Delhi. But look at her reaction. If this doesn't give away the entire show, holy shit. Watch this.
This photo of these, 800 Afghans. Interestingly, it was supposed to...
Just like a wave of bigotry. It's just, oh, God. I don't feel, Dinesh, you promised you wouldn't bring up that photo. How, seriously?
Photo of these, 800 Afghans. Interestingly, it was wasn't so much women and kids. It was all young men.
Well, there were a few women and babies.
But they were pressed together.
Ugh, gross.
What? And you were like...
As you know, because I'm such a germaphobe and because I do believe that this virus is real and horrible, I'm like, oh my...
Now you lost Dinesh. Yeah, in these folks' situation, first of all, they all have cloth that they can pull up over the face, for this flight. But in their circumstance, they're literally between bullets, Delta variant. This is the choice they're making. Ugh, God. There's nasty, dirty, diseased Afghans. They're going to come over here and they're going to cough all over us.
Goodness, they're not wearing masks. They're in, like, literally, I think they said it was 640 people, all jammed.
No, Dinesh said 800. Fuck you.
This one airplane.
I think he said 600. I don't care.
And I'm just thinking, okay, they're bringing COVID. That's
Jesus. Think about how awful, like, and poor Dinesh D'Souza at this point having an oh my God, I married this moment. I have to say it probably comes along in every married relationship. I've never been married, so I wouldn't know, but it seems to. If you all the married comedians I've known over the years seem to have a moment like this. Jesus.
That's all I'm seeing. But then
That's all I'm seeing. Just disease. They're bringing, like, herp, syphilis, AIDS, Delta variant. I mean, I didn't see Trump in there, but he had to be amongst them somehow.
on the other hand, I'm also seeing, oh my goodness, I bet they didn't have to take their shoes off. In fact, they didn't have to do anything, really. They just climbed on that airplane and got in, and there they go.
I mean, and think about it. To the degree that you're screening for people who might pose a danger.
Oh, my goodness.
Here you're picking up people
Oh,
right
my
off the... Think of it. When you,
Think of it. Oh, God, these people, they look like terrorists. How do you even know? You know, because sometimes, like, I saw a few weeks ago, this woman was wearing a hoodie and a mask, and I was like, oh my God, Islam. And it just turned out, I mean, she wasn't, thank God. And then she went to blow her nose, and I was like, it sounded like, when she sneezed, it was really loud. She went, and it sounded like, Allah Akbar. And I peed a little. I peed a little bit, because I was so scared. Thank God it was just a hoodie and a mask, and it was just a sneeze. It wasn't, I thought she was a terrorist. I mean, she's recovering from her wounds. Most of us tried to beat her. But, yes, take their shoes off because they didn't go through screening at the airport.
in Kabul, I'm not sure the United States has a systematic way to distinguish
How do
friend
you
from
know?
foe.
How do you know? They all look like terrorists. It's so weird.
Exactly. How do you know if some of these guys didn't get in and they're terrorists?
What's your name? Abdul. Oh, wait a minute. There was an Abdul who worked for us the other day. God,
Holy fuck.
same guy?
Yeah,
no,
no.
he's my brother.
Exactly. No,
They're all named Abdul, and they're terrorists, and they're so like that. Fucking hell. These people are monsters. Jesus Christ.
so dangerous. And
It is so dangerous. Anybody named Abdul is dangerous.
what I see is I just see complete and utter hypocrisy on the left, because obviously because of 9/11, we all have to be inconvenienced at airports. We have to go through this.
This is her last stand, that they didn't go through a metal detector to be flown out on the floor of a C-17. What?
Machine, then who knows how much radiation we get, every time we.
Oh my God. We have to get radiation every time we go through the X-ray machine at the airport, which isn't. They don't use X-rays on those things. The metal detectors don't work that way, and the scanners they use are basically like ultrasound machines. What? I don't know. I don't know. Are you the most racist people in the world or the dumbest? I think you might be in the running for both. I'm just saying, in the ignorant asshole Olympics, they're both going to be on the podium. I think we can call it. I don't know if they're going to place at the top, but shit.
On there, we have to take off our shoes. We have to dispose of our liquids, all those things. And
Is that how it works?
I see all these people, and they probably did none of it.
None of it. They get to get on a plane and just sit with no seat on cold metal and be flown in a military plane that could be shot out of the sky and has to take off. They literally have to grip the floor, the holes in the floor that's usually they use to tie straps down. They have to hold on to that because the planes take off at such an angle that if they don't, they'll all fall to the back of the plane and could possibly be dumped out. Meanwhile, there were people stuck to the outside of this fucking plane because they were all trying to bum rush and get the fuck out. But at least they didn't have to go through a metal detector. I swear to God, there's somebody jacking off to a picture of me somewhere. Like, not a picture, but one of those scans where I look like melted ice cream, but clay.
None of it. Not to mention all the...
What are you nodding at, D'Souza? She's a fucking moron. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what you mean. They didn't have to take their shoes off. Yeah.
talk about COVID and masks and all of this, and look at them.
Look at these dirty, disgusting people.
Bringing this into our country. And I don't even think that they have a way of testing these people for...
Those people aren't coming into the United States. Those people specifically were taken to a third country because they weren't part of the vetting process. They just climbed in. They were taken someplace else where they'll be vetted. It's going to take a couple of years. They're not even going to Germany. These assholes went to India. By the way, if only you knew someone from India who could fucking tell you this.
COVID. And I heard that they are actually asking airlines to transport them to all parts of the country.
Is that what you heard? What you heard was the civilian corps is going to start giving some of their airplanes that are overseas, that are kind of sitting on the ground because of COVID right now, to help fly people out. Not to fly them all over the United States. You're getting your xenophobic groups mixed up. Those airplanes are for the immigrants that cross the southern border, which is completely wide open and porous, and they're now being dropped off. They're being catched and released.
So here we go.
I mean, it shows that our leaders are asking one thing of citizens, and they quickly forget about those requirements. In fact, they don't even care about them. Not just for themselves when they have their own party.
Out the window.
But
out the window. I mean, if there were windows on these planes, which there aren't because they're cargo planes. But this is their wedding picture. She's like hitchhiking away from this relationship.
when they're dealing with the southern border, the Afghans, somehow the rules don't apply. I'm back with...
Holy shit. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm actually surprised. I thought she would maybe, I don't know why, maybe it's sexist on my part, but I thought a woman in this circumstance might be a moderating influence. But she out-bigoted Dinesh. That's impressive. Now, Debbie D'Souza, I don't know what her background is. Let's see. Is she Venezuelan? Is that what she was alluding to? Let's see. Yep, she's Venezuelan. Debbie D'Souza, biography. Debbie D'Souza was born in Caracas, Venezuela. The Venezuela she grew up in was much like America, prosperous and free. But that has changed dramatically, and it is now a socialist country. D'Souza refuses to see America follow Venezuela's past, and that drives her work today. As a warning to Americans, she speaks about the path that America is taking, repeats many of the same policies that destroyed Venezuela. She is an advocate for conservative Latinos and hopes to educate them in the importance of voting for a party that reflects the principles of the majority of Hispanics. She has a unique perspective because of her dual nationalities, reflecting both her Mexican-American heritage from her mother's side and her Venezuelan roots from her father's. I mean, the irony, though, is that if she was a judge, Trump wouldn't trust her. D'Souza's been singing since the tender age of 4, and her love for music continues to this day. She started singing in her birth country of Venezuela for a weekly televised variety show called Las Voces Blancas. During her teen years in the Rio Grande Valley, she continued to sing in school choir, church weddings, and was the lead singer in a jazz band. Debbie also sang radio jingles for local businesses. Man, digging those up would be fun. D'Souza is a recording artist and former worship leader. Her voice can be heard at the end of the film Hillary's America and singing God Bless America. Oh, you mean her husband put her version of God Bless America in the movie? Weird. Debbie is married to conservative best-selling author, and filmmaker Dinesh D'Souza. I'm gonna need a confirmation on that detail. We'll see. Together they have 3 grown children. That's probably true. All right. I thought somehow she would be. And by the way, remember how I was telling you guys that Republicans can sort of count on a lot of the people that they've been saying, "Oh my God, the caravans are going to come up here," and Democrats are just importing voters, and that's been the story. But she makes the case that the Catholic South American voting bloc is legit, and a lot of the people that come up actually are family values and to some degree anti-gay, and are certainly more conservative in their religious beliefs than the average American, and therefore they're not a shoe-in for Democratic voters. So instead of this being a plus, where Democrats are literally trying to help people, regardless of whether they would vote for them ultimately in the end or not, one would think that was a plus, but not double D here. All right, last thing for the day. I know I went long, but hold on. Where we go? No, that was it. Okay. Oh, so give me 1 second. Let me go back to this guy real quick. And oh, bless you, the D'Souzas. I'm gonna bring something up. 1 second. This is and our good friend Airborne is going live in a few minutes, or is live, and we will go to him. I'll do a raid from like we did yesterday to his page after this. Give me 1 second while I find something. Overall, I'm not stunned by any kind of anything that I'm seeing in this, but let's see. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so this is Biden's remarks today. It's relatively short, but I think in all fairness, considering I had gotten rid of the clip after I inserted myself into it, but this is Biden making a response. This is a few minutes. We'll take a look at what's actually said in this situation. By the way, I just took a picture of that so I can use it later as a background. Then I can cut out the podium, and then there you go. There you go. We'll jump ahead.
Hello, folks. Before I update you on the meeting that I had with leaders of the G7 earlier today, I want to say a word about the progress we're making on the Build Back Better agenda here at home. I just got off the telephone with the leaders in the House. Today, the House of Representatives has taken a significant step toward making a historic investment that's going to transform America, cut taxes for working families, and position the American economy for long-term growth.
Is it hot? Sorry.
When I became president, it was clear that we had to confront an immediate economic crisis.
Sorry.
The most significant recession we've had since the Depression, or at least since Johnson. But that wasn't going to be enough. We also had to make some long-term investments in Americans and America itself. The first thing we did was to write and pass the American Rescue Plan, and it's working. Our economy has added 4 million jobs in my first 6 months in office.
Yeah, that's interesting because Trump lost 3 million. Biden's added 4. So the whole, it just went back to normal, kind of falling apart, guys.
Economic growth is up to the fastest it's been, the fastest rate in 40 years, and unemployment is coming down. Right now, our economic growth is leading the world's advanced economies. But to win the future, we need to take the next step. Today, the House of Representatives did just that. Today's vote in the House allowed them to consider my Build Back Better agenda, a broad framework to make housing more affordable, bring down the cost of prescription drugs by giving Medicare the power to negotiate lower prices for drugs, make elder care more affordable, provide 2 years of free universal high-quality pre-K, and 2 years of free community college, provide clean energy tax credits, continue to give the middle-class families the well-deserved tax cut for daycare and health care that they deserve, allowing a lot of women to get back to work primarily, and provide significant monthly tax cuts for working families with children through the child care tax credit. These investments are going to lower out-of-pocket expenses for families and not just give them a little more breathing room. In addition, we're going to make long overdue, much-needed investments in basic, hard infrastructure of this nation. This is an area where we have broad bipartisan agreement to invest in our antiquated roads, highways, bridges, transit, drinking water systems, broadband, clean energy, environmental cleanup, and making infrastructure more resilient to the climate crisis, and so much more.
Can I just put in a vote for thorium reactors right here? May I? Oh yeah, it's a good time. By the way, this is a perfect time actually. Now that Biden's on the screen and it's freaking them out. Thank you to the trolls again. Thanks to everybody who shows up and watches the show. We got 842 regular viewers just on the YouTube channel live. That's impressive numbers, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. That means you're sharing the show. That means we're picking up audience. We've gained 2,000 subscribers in the last week, which is amazing. I'm hoping for Afghan pullout numbers, 20,000 in 24 hours, but eventually. But I want to thank the trolls because it's only because they get in here and type things in anger that it makes the algorithm recognize that we're here and that we're engaging. And so everybody who gives us a thumbs down gives us as much reach as somebody who gives us a thumbs up. So please, thanks to everybody who's gotten in here, and thank you to our new Patreon subscribers, number 719. We're still looking for that 1,000 number. Oh my God, we'll be there. But there you go.
It's all paid for. Instead of giving every break in the world to corporations and CEOs, by the way, 55 of our largest companies in America paid $0 in federal taxes on more than $40 billion in profit last year. We can ask corporations and the very wealthy just to pay their fair share. They can still be very wealthy, they can still make a lot of money, but just begin to pay their fair share. Mm-hmm. So we can invest in making our country stronger and more competitive, create jobs and raise wages, and lift up the standard of living for everyone. The bottom line is, in my view, we're a step closer to truly investing in the American people, positioning our economy for long-term growth, and building an America that outcompetes the rest of the world. My goal is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, not just the top down. That's what we're on our way of doing. Look, I want to thank Speaker Pelosi, who was masterful in her leadership on this, and Leader Hoyer and Whip Clyburn and Chairman DeFazio, the entire House leadership team, for the hard work, dedication, and determination to bring people together so we can make a difference in people's lives. I also want to thank every Democrat in the House who worked so hard over the past few weeks to reach an agreement and who supported the process for House consideration of the Jobs and Infrastructure Plan, the Build Back Better effort. There were differences, strong points of view. They're always welcome. What is important is that we came together to advance our agenda. I think everyone who did that, I think everyone who did it was there. Look, I also want to thank everyone who voted to support the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Advancing, it's an act to restore and expand voting protections, to prevent voter suppression, and to secure the most sacred of American rights, the right to vote freely, the right to vote fairly, and the right to have your vote counted. The House is active. The Senate also has to join them to send this important bill to my desk. And the Senate has to move forward on the People's Act, critical legislation to protect our democracy and the right to vote. We need both of those election bills. But let me now turn to Afghanistan. I've met this morning with my counterparts in the G7, as well as heads of the United Nations, NATO, and the European Union. I express my thanks for the solidarity we have seen as we've stood up an unprecedented global effort. I updated our partners on the significant progress we made in the past 10 days. As of this afternoon, we've helped evacuate 70,700 people just since August the 14th, 75,900 people since the end of July. Just in the past 12 hours, another 19 U.S. military flights, 18 C-17s and one C-130 carrying approximately 6,400 evacuees and 31 coalition flights carrying 5,600 people have left Kabul just in the last 12 hours. A total of 50 more flights, 12,000 more people since I updated you this morning. These numbers are a testament to the efforts of our brave service women and men, to our diplomats on the ground in Kabul, and to our allies still standing with us. And we had a productive discussion. There was strong agreement among the leaders about the evacuation mission underway, as well as the need to coordinate our approach to Afghanistan as we move forward. First, on evacuation, we agreed that we will continue to our close cooperation to get people out as efficiently and safely as possible. We are currently on a pace to finish by August the 31st. The sooner we can finish, the better. Each day of operations brings added risk to our troops. But the completion by August 31st depends upon the Taliban continuing to cooperate and allow access to the airport for those who were transporting out and no disruptions to our operations. In addition, I've asked the Pentagon and the State Department for contingency plans to adjust the timetable should that become necessary. I'm determined to ensure that we complete our mission, this mission. I'm also mindful of the increasing risks that I've been briefed on, and the need to factor those risks in. They're real and significant challenges that we also have to take into consideration. The longer we stay, starting with the acute and growing risk of an attack by a terrorist group known as ISIS-K, an ISIS affiliate in Afghanistan, which is a sworn enemy of the Taliban as well.
By the way, ISIS-K is the worst cornflakes you will ever have.
On the ground is another day we know that ISIS-K is seeking to target the airport and attack both U.S. and allied forces and innocent civilians. Additionally, thus far, the Taliban have been taking steps to work with us so we can get our people out. But it's a tenuous situation. We've already had some gunfighting break out. We run a serious risk of it breaking down as time goes on. Second, the G7 leaders and the leaders of the EU, NATO, and the UN all agreed that we will stand united in our approach to the Taliban. We agreed the legitimacy of any future government depends on the approach it now takes to uphold international obligations, including to prevent Afghanistan from being used as a base for terrorism. And we agreed that none of us are going to take the Taliban's word for it. We'll judge them by their actions, and we'll stay in close coordination on any steps that we take moving forward in response to the Taliban's behavior. At the same time, we renewed our humanitarian commitment to the Afghan people and supported a proposal by the Secretary General Guterres of the United Nations-led international response with unfettered humanitarian access in Afghanistan. Third, we talked about our mutual obligation to support refugees and evacuees currently fleeing Afghanistan. The United States will be a leader in these efforts, and will look to the international community and
not if Dinesh D'Souza and Debbie can help it.
Our partners to do the same. We're already seeing our allies' commitment,
which they can't.
They're bringing to their countries the Afghans who served alongside their forces as translators or in their embassies, just as we're bringing to the United States those Afghans who worked alongside our forces and diplomats. We're continuing that effort. We're conducting thorough security screening in the intermediate stops they're making for anyone who is not a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident of the United States. Anyone arriving in the United States will have undergone a background check. And we must all work together to resettle thousands of Afghans who ultimately qualify for refugee status. The United States will do our part, and we are already working closely with refugee organizations to rebuild a system that was purposely destroyed by my predecessor.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, we agreed to stay vigilant against terrorist threats that have metastasized around the world. We went to Afghanistan with our allies in 2001 for clear reasons. One, to get the people who attacked us on 9/11 and to get Osama bin Laden, and to make sure that Afghanistan was not used again as a base from which to attack the United States or our allies. We achieved that objective. We delivered justice to bin Laden more than a decade ago. But the current environment looks very different than it did in 2001. We have to meet the challenges we face today. We run effective counterterrorism operations around the world, where we know terrorism is more of a threat than it is today in Afghanistan, without any permanent military presence on the ground.
He's said this a couple times now. They're hammering this point home. I brought it up on my Twitter feed the first time he mentioned this. He specifically name dropped Yemen, the original quote, but this is A, fundamentally true, and B, the Achilles heel of the whole, like, why are we leaving conversation.
And we can and will do the same thing in Afghanistan with our over-the-horizon counterterrorism capability. Cooperation with our closest partners on our enduring counterterrorism mission will continue to be an essential piece of our strategy. In short, all of us agreed today that we're going to stand shoulder to shoulder with our closest partners to meet the current challenges we face in Afghanistan, just as we have for the past 20 years. We're acting in consultation and cooperation with our closest friends and fellow democracies. And I want to again thank all of our allies and partners around the world who have rallied in support of our shared mission. We ended the conversation today by a clear statement on all of our parts. We are going to stay united, locked at the hip in terms of what we have to do. We'll get that done. And tomorrow, I've asked Secretary Blinken to give you an update and a detailed report on exactly how many Americans are still in Afghanistan, how many have gone out, and what our projection is. So thank you again, and God bless you, and may God protect our diplomats and all those in harm's way. Thank you.
By the way, listen to this question as they're leaving. Listen, and this is like Ducey or one of these guys yelling this. Listen to this.
Before the troops leave.
Hold on. I got to move this back here because it's on the audio. There we go. Watch what he says.
Guarantee every American will be out before the troops leave.
Mr. President, can you guarantee that every American will be out before the troops leave? The answer to the question, by the way, they've already answered it before, is every American who wants to get out will get out. The before the troops leave part is a weird line that they're making up to go, well, if the troops are out, and then we find that there's some Americans there, we're just, fuck them. We're not going to arrange. Once the troops are out, we're not going to go back and get anybody. Even if they were lost, they were locked in a fucking bedroom closet. They managed to get themselves free, but they got to stay. Sorry. We're of course going to work to do that. If we get people out of fucking Cambodia and Yemen and Saudi Arabia and Iranian hostages and prisoners, of course. But what kind of stupid question is that?
Did sanctions come up at all in the G7 meeting?
Did sanctions come up at all in the G7 meeting? They don't even have a fucking government. We're going to put sanctions on the Taliban's government. They can't even agree that it exists. Like, literally, the Taliban is asking women not to leave because they're the only ones who know how to run shit. This is what they're up against. 20 years of educating a workforce and the women being able to do stuff is that they already lost the robotics team. There's not going to be nobody's buying a fucking Taliban washing machine, radio, phone, or anything else. And if all you've got is mining resources, get ready for the giant corporations of the world that are seeking energy and materials to just come and shove a drilling rig down your throat. That's it. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you, just so you know, by comparison to what we looked at, what Glenn Beck said, what Don Jr. said, what Dinesh D'Souza said, let's see, who else did we have today? They all blend together. All these folks seem to pretend that none of this is happening, that Biden himself is not making any, there is no part of this where they're showing what's happening. They're making improvements based on the reality, and they're shifting strategy if necessary. But at the same time, sticking to the line to get the fuck out. The vast majority of Americans want out. The reason we haven't gotten out before, why we didn't get out in the last 4 years, is besides the fact that Trump is a nutless scrotum with the intellectual capacity of a hobo's dick cheese, to quote Tom Cruise in Tropic Thunder. Paraphrase, really. The reason he didn't do it is because he's a coward. And it was always going to look like shit. So why do that? Why even bother? All right, I got to go. You guys are wonderful. Tomorrow I will be doing the show from Los Angeles. We'll be a little more low tech than we've been lately. Thanks. I'm so glad the system's actually just working. We're tweaking little bits as we go along. Eventually, I'll even have a compressor on here, so all the audio is the same. Wouldn't that be lovely? So regardless, I will see you guys tomorrow at our regular time in theory. And then I've got a show. It'll be a shorter show too, because I have a show at Flappers tomorrow night. You can watch it on the live stream. I'll be putting it up on my YouTube channel. It's for big kids. I use big kid language just like here. So take care of yourself and take care of somebody else. And I will, on the Twitch side of things, I'm going to raid our dear friend Airborne after this. Okay. Cheers. Bye, everybody.